Okay, Big Meech has been under fire. He's only been home for, what has it been, 6 months, something like that, and he's apparently kind of smeared his name and a lot of the goodwill that he had been accumulating for the past couple of decades in the streets. What's your perspective on everything that's going on with that?
Did 50 Cent take down the post calling Big Meech rat? I thought I saw something that 50 took it down or something. If I had put something out there that Meech is a rat, I would take it down because I don't know what people think. All I've heard is Tammy Cowan, Big Meech a rat, Tammy Cowan, Big Meech a rat. Okay. Have you heard that Big Meech was locked up in 2005 and he got out in 2025?
Hmm.
That's 20 years, Adam.
Right.
20 years. He was in solitary for the first couple of years. Okay, this man did a tremendous amount of time. Okay, so the basis for he's a rat. Let's talk about what happened here. I'll tell you the whole story.
Sure.
There's nothing. There is nothing in this story
Wow, that's
that he is
interesting.
somebody
Okay.
a base. It's crazy. I can't believe people are calling this guy a rat. He gets picked up in 2005. Okay, and they hit him with the worst charge you can get for dealing in America. And back in 2005, we're like, oh my God, you're the devil reincarnated. Over the years, we've seen the First Step Act and a lot of reform in and around penalties for dealers. He gets picked up in 2005. They do another sweep. They do the BMF takedown. There's like more than 100 people in the takedown. There's more than 50 people in his indictment. He does not plead to any violence. It's purely a and money laundering charge.
Okay.
Okay. Now he pleads. The judge gives him 30 years. Okay? The judge gave him 30 years. His lawyers fought like hell for like 4 years between the time he got his sentence, 2008, to about 2012. They filed 1,000,007 motions to try to get this man out, arguing all types of things. And we can get into all the stuff that they did that. It should be a full documentary. Now, when he finally loses all of those challenges, he sits in prison. And he sits in prison until about 2017, when we get the first bit of legislation changing the federal sentencing guidelines for violations. And at that time, his lawyers went to the judge and said, look, judge, we got new laws. Back in 2008, when you sentenced this guy, his guideline range suggested that you have to sentence him on the low end to 30 years, on the high end to life. You gave him 30. Today, with the new law, the low end would not have been 30 years, it would have been 27. Can we give him 27? Then a couple years later, we get another change in the laws. And when we got that next change in the laws, his lawyers went back and they said, hey, judge, remember we came to you, we said it shouldn't have been 30, it should have been 27. Well, they just filed that Congress just passed a new law. Now, it's not supposed to be 30, it's not supposed to be 27, it should be 24. The government agreed. The government said, yeah, we looked at this. They're absolutely right. If he was sentenced today instead of back in 2008 under the new federal sentencing guidelines for these crimes, his range would have been 24 to life. So we're okay with you giving him 24 if you want. Okay. So the government agrees that his sentence should have been 24. Okay. He was arrested in 2005. Okay. It's 2025. Okay. He did 20 years on a sentence that the government says should have been 24. There's good time credit. You could get like 50, 55, 57 days off each year of your sentence for good time. He could absolutely, in his 20-year bid, have earned the 4.5 years of good time and other stuff that he does rehab to get those 4 years kicked off. So the fact that a guy sentenced in 2008, serving time since 2005, gets his 30-year reduced to 27 down to 24.
Not that out of the ordinary. Yeah, very easy to explain it without the snitching narrative, right?
There's no where is the snitching narrative come from? He sat for 20 years. The filings are all, I can't believe because you asked me, I looked at this and I said, oh my God, what are they doing to this man? Can you imagine serving 20 years and then coming out based on changes of congressional law, and the whole world wants to call you a snitch? If people snitch, call them a snitch. I have no problem calling snitches snitches. But what's the basis?
Right. I mean, it seems like a lot of people, it's always seemed kind of convoluted to me, but they believe that Tammy must have been basically snitching on his behalf, where he was feeding her information in order to, help the feds out or whatever like that. You don't put any kind of stock in that, in those allegations?
There's no basis for anything but a very simple story. Guy got 30 years, okay? Then the law changed and the government agreed he should have got 24 and he got out in 20.
Right.
Well, where's the snitching? What does Tammy Cowan have to do with anything? Everybody agrees the 30 years was rough.
Mm.
30 years, I mean, it was a lot of. The indictment said he moved like $270 million worth of cocaine, like 500 keys all over the country. All right, but it was just, how much do you think they give people for? They gave him 30, they knocked it down to 24. With good time, he got out in 20. This whole Tammy Cowan narrative, unless people have some facts that they want to explain, they should take down their posts.
Wow, that's interesting. So you think that 50 Cent did take it down? Because that would be pretty unprecedented.
I'll look on this call. I think I heard. I saw us like, oh, 50 has 50's Instagram. Maybe somebody on your end can check. 50's Instagram has scrubbed all the big Meech rap posts. I thought I saw that.
Really? Because I mean, he is someone who just sort of posts so much random bullshit on his Instagram that I guess I wouldn't be surprised if he were to clean it up from time to time and delete stuff. But if he deleted all of the posts about Meech specifically, that would be at least a little bit damning.
Yeah, man, this guy, he caught 30 years on the kingpin charge for moving keys, and to me, I'm shocked that people in the industry and people in the press have decided that they can go out and call him a rat,
Mm.
and I'm shocked that he hasn't fought back. That he's is maybe he's probably just above it. He's probably from a different time where he doesn't want to go on the internet and do all this nonsense where he's just like doesn't move like that. But I'm shocked he hasn't fought back.
I mean, a lot of people are speculating that his mental health might not be the best at this time period, and like a lot of people suggesting that he might have been on while he was in prison. They think that he doesn't necessarily seem like the old Meech when they see clips of him and everything like that. But have you ever heard of anyone being successfully sued for defamation because someone was calling them a snitch? Like, is that the kind of thing that you could successfully sue for?
I mean, I've never heard it, but in the context of Meech, I mean, my God, I can't think of a more perfect case because when he re-enters society right now in 2025, he has a reputation and he has a role in the entertainment industry. And there's plenty of earning potential for this man. I imagine that there's lots of offers from lots of people
Oh
to
yeah.
trade on his reputation as this big time gangster who's now out and can tell you about the world from his point of view. And then to go out and call him a snitch, well, that's first off, that's an objective fact. You're either a snitch or you're not.
Mm.
And so that's something that if somebody calls me a snitch and I'm not a snitch, and my reputation is such that I'm trying to capitalize on my status as this gangster who did his time and came out, shit, I would sue for defamation.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty easy to prove damages. I mean, I'm sure he could create a million opportunities that he thought that he was going to have that he isn't having as a result of a lot of this bad publicity and everything. So, damn, that's crazy. But I mean, there was, I don't know if you have any insight into this, but like Boosie went on Vlad and basically said that when that Big Meech Welcome Home concert got canceled, Boosie claims that the feds showed up backstage a couple hours before the concert and they shut it down, which was kind of shocking to people because that makes some people think like, oh, okay, what particular interest might the feds have in Big Meech doing a Welcome Home concert? But I guess,
Oh, huge.
yeah,
They'd have huge interest. He's on supervised release.
okay,
So there's serious terms there about who he can affiliate and associate with. And then moreover, this case was always a case that has national attention in terms of for the federal government, what this was a takedown of the if of one of, if not the biggest and most notorious drug enterprises in the history of the United States of America. And that's always been at the lawyers, at the tip of the lips of the lawyers whenever they're talking about this case to the judge, whenever sentencing happened, appeals happened, whenever there's any argument about anything, the feds were always very quick to point out, Your Honor, we're talking about a guy who ran an organization that was moving 500 keys, market value of $270 million in cocaine. It doesn't get any bigger than this. And so what you do here reverberates throughout society in terms of public opinion, public perception. And so I think absolutely the feds would come and say, "You doing a welcome home with who? What are these lyrics? Who's going to be saying what? Is this guy here? You know, he's a gang member." And for somebody like Meech, who got out on that charge on supervised release, to me that makes perfect sense. I remember what they did with BG, right? They went to him and said, "Hey, you can't be making music with this person, or you can't be saying this in a rap song because they're on supervised release."
Definitely. I mean, I guess a lot of people just thought it was strange that the feds would show up at the concert a couple hours before it took place, given that, you know, every expense that they were going to have to pay was essentially already paid, and presumably they were going to have to refund a ton of the tickets to the fans and everything like that. But I guess if they wanted to make it as painful and as difficult as possible for somebody like Meech, that's probably how they would do it. They wouldn't give him 2 weeks notice.
Yeah, I'm sure they. I don't think they were really considering how much pain it would cause Meech. In the Fed's eyes, Meech ran one of the worst criminal organizations in the history of this country. They owe him no favors, and so tough loss for Meech is all they would care about. I don't think they'd care.
And so that's not, from your perspective, that's not really like that out of the ordinary for them to then continue to have an interest in him for the rest of his life and to do things that seem to the public at least to be antagonistic and, you know, essentially designed to make his life out of the feds as difficult as possible.
Yeah, I don't think that's out of the ordinary.
These guys.
Okay, so you just saw the clip, but did you know that you can watch this entire interview right now before it's released to the public, uncensored, by becoming a member for just $5 a month? And there's a lot of other crazy benefits as well. So make sure you hit the link down in the description and sign up. Appreciate y'all.